ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are in this sixth chapter of Gita and we are seeing the Sambandha Bhashyam, that is the introductory Bhashyam or commentary of Sri Shankaracharya. As we saw in the last class, this commentary is to understand the perspective, to give the correct perspective for the first three shlokas of the chapter. The first three shlokas of the chapter, they talk about Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha sayuktah na niragnir na chakriyah. So that is the shloka. So what, to whom is he referring? To whom Lord Krishna is referring in this shloka? And then, is karma prescribed throughout, or does karma yoga drop off at one point of time? So that is the question. So some sort of discussion is going on between the hardcore Mimamsaka. Mimamsaka is a ritualist. Ritualist who wants that Yavad Jiva Shruti. He takes shelter under that Yavad Jiva Shruti. That lifelong you have to keep on doing your karmas, all the rituals, etc. So the discussion is between that hardcore ritualist and then the Vedanti. The Vedanti says, we are not totally rejecting karma yoga. We are admitting karma yoga. We are agreeing with that. But it has to drop off at some point of time. You go beyond that. So that is what the Vedanti says. So the discussion is in between these two people. So that is the overall context. So this discussion, this Sambandha Bhashya is basically to place things in the proper context or in the proper perspective. So in the last class some discussion went on. The discussion is somewhat like this. So initially Krishna, the question was, because this Yavad Jiva Shruti says that karma is for whole, for the entire lifetime, then should there not be karma for Arudha also? This Arudha and Arurukshu, I hope you remember. Arurukshu is somebody who wants to graduate to the level of Dhyana Yoga. Arudha is somebody who has already graduated to the level of Dhyana Yoga. So for one who has graduated to the level of Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga can drop off. So that is the overall meaning. So but then this man is asking this question, Yavad Jiva Shruti, what about this Yavad Jiva Shruti? Then Krishna says, this Shankaracharya, the Vedanti answers, no, it is not like that. Because Lord Krishna has made a clear distinction between Arurukshu and Arudha. And he has also mentioned that if Shrama, if Karma and also Shama if both of them are intended for these two people, he would not have made a distinction like that. Then again the Purvapashi questions, the hardcore say Mimamsaka ritualist, he questions, no, there are different levels of people in society. There is somebody who is an Arurukshu, there is somebody who is an Arudha, there are people who are not bothered about all these things. So with reference, keeping that in mind, Lord Krishna has mentioned these two words, and it is not as though Karma Yoga is not prescribed for an Arudha. So that is what he says. Then again the Siddhanti says, Siddhanti means the Vedanti. He says, no, it is not like that, because the words Tasyaiva are also used. Tasyaiva means for the same person. Who is that same person? Arudhasya cha tasyaiva shamah karanam uchyate. That is the third shloka. So Arudhasya tasyaiva. Arudhasya means Dhyana Yogam Arudhasya. One who has graduated to the level of Dhyana Yoga. For such a man, Tasyaiva means for the same man. So which means for that man who has graduated to that level, he has to study a different course. He need not do the same course which he has done in the high school level. He has to do a different course in the graduate level. So that is what this degree level, that's what Lord Krishna has said. We are at that stage. Then Lord Krishna is giving an example. Shankaracharya, that is a Vedanti, he is continuing to say that because of that thing, and he is also giving the second reason, Yoga Vibhrashta Vachanacha. I think we stopped at that line. Yoga Vibhrashta Vachanacha. So that is Yoga Vibhrashta Vachanacha means toward the end of this chapter, there is again a question. There is a question by Arjuna to Krishna. So Arjuna's question is like this: okay, I have given up this karma and I am doing this dhyana yoga practice, and somewhere in between my dhyana gets disturbed. my that shama and all this practice of this self-restraint, etc., it gets disturbed. And then what all I have done in that dhyana yoga process, it just shatters. It just shatters like a cloud. Chinnabhrami vanashyati. So the metaphor used is Kachinno bhaya vibhrashtaha chinnabhrami vanashyati. Kachit na ubhaya vibhrashtaha. That ubhaya vibhrashta means a fellow who falls between the two stools. Ubhaya vibhrashta, he is neither here nor there. He has given up karma yoga and he has failed in dhyana yoga. So he is neither here nor there. So such a man will, what all he has done till that time, will it not shatter, will it not disperse into pieces, just like some big cloud which just gets shattered in the sky because of huge wind? So chinnabhrami vanashyati. So that is his question. So then that is what Lord Krishna is going to say. He is going to say, no, it is not like that, because if, chinnabhrami vanashyati, that question itself shows that Arjuna is very clear in his mind that karma yoga is not something which is prescribed at the level of dhyana yoga. Is it clear? Yes. Arjuna is very clear that karma yoga is not there at the level of dhyana yoga, and that is why he is only holding on to one thing. If there are two crutches, even if one crutch fails, one more crutch will be there, isn't it? Suppose a man is walking on two crutches, and then suppose one loses, at least one will be there, he will not fall. Suppose there is only one crutch and then that crutch goes away, he will fall. So that Lord Krishna is meaning that there are no two crutches here, there is only one, that is dhyana yoga. And even if we fall, there is no question of fall from there. You are assuming that there is a question of fall. So that is the reply which he is going to give toward the end of this adhyaya. So that very briefly he is mentioning. Yoga vibhrashta vachanacha is a sangraha vakyam. Shankaracharya's style of explaining is, he tells the sangraha vakyam first and then he elaborates. Sangraha vakyam means what all he wants to say, he will say in one brief, say small pithy sentence, and thereafter he elaborates. Yoga vibhrashta vachanacha means because Lord Krishna has also mentioned the word yoga vibhrashta. Whether it is not necessarily Lord Krishna, Arjuna's question actually. Arjuna's question is about yoga vibhrashta, means one who falls from that yoga, dhyana yoga. Let us read. गृहस्थस्य चेत् कर्मिणः योगो विहितः षष्ठे अध्याये स योगविभ्रष्टोऽपि कर्मगतिं कर्मफलं प्राप्नोतीति तस्य नाश आशंका अनुपपन्ना स्यात्. You can say nasha asanka, you can continuously read. Nasha Shanka Anupapanna Syat. Okay, this is what he was saying. Gruhasthasya chet karminaha yogo vihitaha. In case yoga is prescribed, vihita means vidhi. Vidhi, what is a vidhi is vihita, that is prescribed. Vihita, you can note down prescribed. If yoga is prescribed for a gruhastha who is a karmi, Gruhastha is the man who is a karmi. Gruhastha means a householder. Householder, he is the man who is in this karma yoga. If that gruhasthasya chet karminaha yogo vihitaha shashte adhyaye saha yoga vibhrashtopi karmagatim karmaphalam prapnoti iti. Even so that gruhastha, he has graduated from the level of a karma yogi to the level of a dhyana yogi. Suppose if you still insist that karma yoga is still there with him, then Saha yoga vibhrashtopi, then even if one crutch falls, you imagine this crutch, one crutch is karma yoga and one crutch is dhyana yoga. So suppose this karma is not there, this dhyana yoga vibhrashtahapi, suppose this karma is still there, then dhyana, one more is gone. Even if it is gone, the man is still standing. So that is what is the thing. Saha yoga vibhrashtopi karma gatim karma phalam prapnoti. Iti tasya nasha shanka anupapanna syat. So even if one crutch goes away, the karma yoga is still there and karma phalam he will still get, isn't it? Karma yoga phalam is still there. Karma yoga phalam means he is going to explain. We have been reading that karma yoga there is no phalam and whatnot, isn't it? But karma yoga phalam is chitta shuddhi. Karma yoga phalam not in a material sense. You see, you are doing a karma. Then karma phalam is what? Punyam. Punyam, moksham and material wealth and whatnot, all these things, pleasures. So that sort of karma phala is not there, but another type of karma phala is there. What is that karma phala? Chitta Shuddhi is there, isn't it? Actually, Chitta Shuddhi is the real material which is needed. Nishkama karma, Chitta Shuddhi is what is needed. So that is what is it. Then, Krutam karma, karma gatim karma phalam prapnoti iti tasya nasha shanka anupapanna syat. So there is no question of his fall. So that question, Arjuna's question would be inappropriate in case Lord Krishna has prescribed both karma and dhyanam for this Arudha. Is it clear?
Yes.
So dhyanam and karma, they are both not prescribed. Only dhyanam is prescribed. Karma falls off. One crutch you need not have. You follow only one crutch. That is dhyana yoga crutch. So that is it. Nasha shanka means the doubt about its collapse. The Chinnabhravimeva nashyati. That Chinnabhrameva, like that shattered cloud, it disappears. So what all he has done, it disappears. That is the doubt of Arjuna. Krishna says it will not disappear like that. It will definitely give some good result. In the next janma you will have some initial advantage, some starting advantage. So all those things he will explain at the end of the chapter. Then Nasha Shanka Anupapanna Syat. Avashyam hi Krutam karma Kamyam Nityam va Mokshasya Nityatvad Anarabhyatve Swam phalam arabhate eva. So you have to break this sentence actually, because in between the sentence there is a parenthesis. In English there is what is called a parenthesis. You understand what is a parenthesis? So in between a long sentence, so there is a small sentence which is introduced in the form of a clause. That clause itself can be a full sentence, but here what is introduced is, I will explain the sentence, read out the sentence. Avashyam hi krutam karma kamyam nityam va. You break there. You put a hyphen there. Kamyam nityam va. Then mokshasya nityatvad anarabhyatve. You can put a dash there. Dash. Then swam phalam arabhate eva. So you have the connection is like this. Avashyam hi krutam karma kamyam nityam va. Swam phalam arabhate eva. In between what is there you leave. I will explain that. In between what is there, it means mokshasya nityatvad anarabhyatve, because moksham is something which is nityam. Moksha, it is already there. It is only this our own ajnana that we, because of our own ajnana, that we are not realizing that we are literally free people. And because of ajnana, we are binding ourselves in so many social knots and all these things. So that is what is moksha. Moksha is something which is nitya, it is eternal, it is already there. And then moksha is a siddha vastu, as Vedanta says. Then mokshasya nityatve anarabhyatvat, anarabhyatve, nityatvad anarabhyatve. Because moksha, it is something which is not going to be say initialized or something which is going to be commenced. It is not something which is going to be started. Moksha is not something which is going to be produced or started or originated, let us say. So it is not something like that. So because of that, then you come to this line, Avashyam hi krutam karma kamyam nityam va. This kamya karma or nitya karma, whatever is the karma, avashyam means surely, swam phalam arabhate eva. They will give their result. Moksha is something which is not achieved by any karma. Then this krutam karma, whatever it is, krutam karma, kamyam va, nityam va, they will definitely give result. Isn't it? So that is what he is saying. Avashyam hi krutam karma, kamyam nityam va, swam phalam arabhate eva. So what he is saying is, nitya karma also gives some result. Nitya karma, according to Mimamsakas, nitya karma is something which does not give any result. Whereas Vedanta says nitya karma also gives result. Nitya karma also gives result in the form of some chitta shuddhi. This is chitta shuddhi is the actual currency which is valid there. Your all other things, punyam and all these things, is not the currency which is valid in the case of Brahmagyana. In the level of Brahmagyana or in the orbit of Brahmagyana, it is the chitta shuddhi which is the actual currency which is needed there. So that is what it is. So nityasya cha karmanaha. This earlier line, is it clear?
Yes.
Avashyam hi krutam karma kamyam nityam va. phalam arabhate eva. That is, it gives result. So that is why it is connected with the earlier sentence, nasha shanka anupapanna. Because whatever it, if karma were to be there, karma would have definitely given result. So that is it. If karma were to be there, karma would have definitely given result. Of course, we are excluding moksha because moksha is something which is not something which is originated by any karma. So that is how, that is the connection with the earlier sentence. Then nityasya cha karmanaha veda pramanavabuddhatvat phalena bhavitavyamiti avochama अन्यथा वेदस्य अनर्थक्य प्रसंगात इति. So nityasya cha karmanah. So for this nitya karma, Shankaracharya and the Vedantis, they differ with the what is this ritualist, Mimamsakas. Mimamsaka, according to Mimamsaka, nitya karma is not something which is going to give any result. Kamya karma, of course, it gives result. Nishkama karma is something which they don't accept. Nishkama karma, only Vedanti is advocating. Vedanti is advocating. Nishkama karma is something which is not thought of in Mimamsaka Siddhanta. Mimamsaka, all the while, he is busy with his own ritual and he is very happy that he is going to some Swarga. He is very happy that there is a sort of quid pro quo. You do something to the deities and the deities will give you some punyam and you will go there and you will enjoy. You will have all the pleasures and then you will return. So that sort of, that is the arrangement. That is the, say, world view, let us say, but that is the world view which the Mimamsaka is having. Vedantin says, no, you have to go beyond that level and think about what you are. Think about what you, when you say Jiva, what is the nature of Jiva? Who are you? You are a Pramata. What is it? What is it? Your body-mind complex. What is your body-mind complex and what is the ultimate reality? You have to think. So that is what Vedanti says. So Vedanta says Nitya Karma also gives the result called Chitta Shuddhi. It is not Punyam. It is not giving result in the sense of Punyam, but it is giving a different result. Then Nityasya cha karmanaha Veda Pramana Avabuddhatvat. Avabuddhatvat means because it is known on the authority of the Veda. Veda Pramana. Pramana means Veda as an authority. Veda Pramana Avabuddhatvat means because it is known. Avabuddhatvat, avabodha. Avabodha is understanding. Avabuddhatvat means because it is known by the authority of the Veda. Avabodha means tattva bodha, tattva avabodha, understanding. Avabuddhatvat means because it is known, because it is learnt or understood, because of the pramana of the Veda. Then, phalena bhavitavyam. Because whatever Veda says, it has to give you some phalam. Phalena bhavitavyam means it has to give you some phalam. Otherwise, anyatha means otherwise, Vedasya anarthakya prasangat. Veda would be telling about some useless things. If Veda is prescribing something, it means that there is a result for that. There is a result for that. There is some purpose. There is a result. Chitta Shuddhi also is a purpose. Punyam may not be there in that. But then Chitta Shuddhi is a very, very important thing. Otherwise, if Veda is talking about some senseless things, then what is the use of Veda? So Vedasya anarthakya prasangaha syat. So that is not something which is accepted by anybody, either you or me. So that is it. Nacha karmani sati ubhaya vibhrashta vachanam arthavat. Vachanam arthavat. Karminaha vibhramsha karana anupapattehe. Okay. Nacha karmani sati. Karmani sati means in case karma is also there. In case karma is also there. Nacha karmani sati means in case karma also is karmani sati. In case karma is also there. Ubhaya vibhrashta vachanam na arthavat. This na has to be transferred there. Ubhaya vibhrashta vachanam na arthavat. This in case karma also is there, then ubhaya vibhrashta vachanam will be senseless, will be meaningless, because ubhaya vibhrashtam will not happen. If karma is also there, even if one crutch goes, one crutch, the man will stand on one crutch, isn't it? So that is it. Nacha karmani sati ubhaya vibhrashta vachanam arthavat. Then karminaha vibhramsha karana anupapattehe. So for a karmi, karminaha means for the karmi or for the person who is also doing that, practicing this karma yoga along with this dhyana yoga, if he is also doing that, then there is no question of vibhramsha, there is no question of shattering, because karma phala, that chitta shuddhi is still there. So he will not collapse like Arjuna had Arjuna's doubt. Such doubt will not arise. It would not arise. So that is it. Then the Purvapaksha again is questioning. I hope we will complete this Purvapaksha discussion in the present class, because it is going on. Because this chap is also this ritualist also is so untiring, indefatigable as we say, untiring. The discussion is something like, even today we can see this discussion. It is something like our endowments department. Endowments department, we know they are in charge of this temple administration. So they will invent newer and newer pujas. They will invent new pujas and then charge greater rates. So for example, about 20 years ago, this Rahu Ketu puja was not there in Srisailam. It was just unknown. It was Srisailam means that is a place, not Srisailam, that Kalahasti. You go and worship Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, the idea of Shiva, the philosophy of Shiva, what is Shiva Tattvam, that is what is the basic thing. You go and very devotedly worship Lord Shiva, and then Parvati, Dakshinamurti is there, who symbolizes Jnana. So Dakshinamurti place we sit. Nowadays nobody sees Dakshinamurti, nobody even bothers for Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is just incidentally you say just hello to Lord Shiva. Now you go and worship Rahu Ketu Puja. That is because some 15 years ago, some film star or some filmmaker, he went there and then did some puja in order to ward off some dosham, Rahu dosha or something like that, something part of that Navagraha puja. That became the more important puja now. Everybody goes there to do that Rahu Graha puja and not Shiva puja. So our temple administration, every day they are inventing newer and newer rituals in order to make more money. Because all this thing, the temple administration looks at all our temples as sources of income. They have to make more money and then take it and then give to somebody else. Give to as doles or whatever it is, and not for dharma prachara. Certainly not for dharma prachara. So that is what is happening. So here, this is the same discussion. And then this ritual is something which is not encouraged by Vedanta. The present day Vedantins also, if you take some Tattvavidananda or Paramarthananda or Swami Dayananda, anybody, these are the people who will not encourage this type of rituals. They will say, okay, you worship God by knowing the Tattvam of God. You worship Shiva by understanding Shiva Tattvam. You worship Vishnu by understanding Vishnu Tattvam. You read Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashyam written by Shankaracharya, and then you will know the whole Vedanta is contained in that. Then Lalita Sahasranama Bhashya, there is a commentary by one Bhaskara Raya. Shankaracharya has not written. One Bhaskara Raya Bhashyam is there on Lalita Sahasra. If you read that, the whole philosophy, the whole Vedanta is contained in that. So you understand the nature of God. Jnatva karmani kurvita, there is one statement in Upanishads. Jnatva karmani kurvita means you have to understand the nature of the what is the philosophy behind what you are worshipping. And it is not a question of blind worship. So we don't want enlightenment, we only want ritual. So that is the stage where our temple administration is there. Though unfortunately it is also headed by very, very intelligent people, very, very learned people and administrative service people and whatnot. So that is a very unfortunate thing. So this is the present day Mimamsaka. The temple administrator is the present day Mimamsaka and versus some Tattvavidananda. So something like that, Shankaracharya versus the then Mimamsaka, maybe Kumarila Bhatta or some such man. Then Shankaracharya, he was having an argument with that Mandana Mishra. Mandana Mishra was a great ritualist of those days. You recall that story? There was one great Mimamsaka called Kumarila Bhatta. He has written something called Shloka Vartika, a very huge book on Mimamsa. And then Kumarila Bhatta's disciple is Mandana Mishra. Shankaracharya goes and then he argues with that Mandana Mishra and then defeats him in that argument. So that sort of, that's the thing. So a lot of discussion is going on in Indian society between the ritualists on one hand and those who want to graduate from, we don't reject rituals, we want to graduate from that and not even leave it there also. You understand the ritual and do. You understand the ritual and do. After all, Madhusudana Saraswati, who has written a huge commentary for Gita, and he is the man who produced huge volumes like Advaita Siddhi to establish the doctrine of Advaita. And then he said, Krishnat param kimapi tattvam na jane. He said, there is a very beautiful shloka, I don't recall. He says, he was a very great devotee of Lord Krishna. So like that. So, because he understood the Krishna Tattva, It is not as though he was just doing like for any personal gain, and then for you not asking for some swargam and then not some chance to dance with gopikas and whatnot. It's not like that. It is basically by understanding the Krishna Tattva that he was so fond of this Krishna concept. So like that. So you understand the thing and then to do puja. So Vedanti does not reject it. Vedanti says you only understand. Vedanti is for some enlightened puja, enlightened say approach to puja, whereas the ritualist is for basically for personal gain. So that sort of argument has been going on in the society. May not be in our own society, but in all societies, in all religions too. That's what I feel. So here again this Purva Pakshi is coming up with some Purva Paksha. What is it? Karma krutam Ishware sanyasya ityatah Kartari karmaphalam na arabhate iti chet. So this is what I was also saying. So this, when you say that karma yoga, then karma yoga is something Ishwararpana buddhi you have done. Karma yoga, you have done the karma with Ishwararpana buddhi. Where is karma phala? That is what he is asking. The doubt which you and I got a few minutes ago, the same thing he is saying. Krutam karma Ishware sanyasya ityatah. You have said that it is all done in Ishwar, say you have done with a sense of, say what is this Krishnarpanam, what is that, what do you say? Ishwararpana buddhi, let us say, Ishwararpana buddhi, you have done that karma. Then there is no karma phala. Then he says, no, it is not like that. Even when you are doing with Ishwararpana buddhi, you are getting a different type of result. You may not be getting result in the shape of punya, you are getting a result in the shape of chitta shuddhi. It is not as though that karma yoga is giving zero result. Karma yoga is not giving result in the normal sense or the material sense or at the level of punyam. It is giving a different level, at the level of sadhana. For a seeker who is in the spiritual path, he has to discard some weight, he has to discard some burden, he has to unburden himself and acquire a new approach. So that new orientation is being given by karma yoga. So that is what is the thing. Then the reply is na Ishware sanyasasya adhikatara phala hetutvopapatte. Yes, when you say that you are renouncing it in Ishvara, you are doing this Ishwararpana buddhi karma, then it is for a greater result. It is for a totally different result. You are discarding your say some silly currency and then you are getting on to a better currency. This punyam is some unwanted currency. You leave this unwanted currency through which you can go to only Swarga. You are taking up a different currency called Chitta Shuddhi, which is leading you to moksha, for permanent happiness. So for freedom from all misery, freedom from all types of bondages. So that is what he is saying. So, adhikatara phala hetutva upapattehe. So, when you are renouncing in Ishvara, you are actually getting more result. So, that is it. Then, again the Purva Pakshi says, mokshayaiva iti chet. So, then he says, moksha, this is again Purva Pakshi Sangraha Vakyam. Mokshayaiva iti. No, it is only for moksha. This karma yoga is also for moksha. You have renounced for the sake of moksha. Then he is again explaining. Karma yoga, he is still explaining. स्वकर्मणाम कृतानाम ईश्वरे न्यासः मोक्षायैव न फलांतराय कर्मयोग योगसहितः योगाच्च विभ्रष्ट इत्यतः तं प्रति नाशाशंका युक्त इव इति चेत्. So this is the full Purva Paksha. So he is still saying, no, this karma is something which is not going to give you any result. Karma is, you have already said this karma phala is not there, and then I am, this is only for moksha, for the sake of moksha I have renounced this karma phala. Then, mokshaya vidya swakarmanam kutanam ishware nyasaha mokshaya eva na phalantaraya. There is no other phalam. Phalantaram means another phalam, an alternate phalam. So that alternative phalam is not there. Then yoga sahitaha yogacha vibhrashtaha. Yoga sahitaha means here karma yoga sahitaha. That is a person who is in karma, doing both karma yoga and dhyana yoga. So that he is referred to here as Yoga Sahita. Yoga Sahita means Yoga Sahitaha Dhyana Yoga Arudha. So that is one who is doing this Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Then he is Yogacha Vibhrashtaha. Dhyana Yogat Vibhrashtaha. Holding both crutches and then not holding one crutch. Tamprati Nashashan. This Yoga Sahitaha, Yogacha Vibhrashtaha Ityataha. This man, he is doing Dhyana Yoga only, and then that Dhyana Yoga he is Vibhrashta. So in which case, Tamprati, in his case, Tamprati means in his case, Nasha Ashanka Yukta Iva Iti Ched. Nasha Ashanka Yukta. That means it is still valid. Nasha Ashanka. This Arjuna's question, that is still valid, he says. That is, Arjuna's question implies that karma also is there. Because that karma phala is you have already renounced for the sake of Lord, then naturally when you collapse from Dhyana Yoga, you will collapse. So that is what, that is why the question, Arjuna's question is still valid. That is what he says. Then Purvapakshi, Siddhanti again says, Na. Ekaki yata chittatma Nirashir aparigraha. Then Brahmachari vrate sthitaha. Brahmachari vrate iti karma sannyasa vidhanat. So he says, no, it is not like that. Sannyasa is very much prescribed in the books. Sannyasa is very much prescribed in what is this Gita also, not for Arjuna, but this karma sannyasa is really prescribed as the ultimate, as the greatest sadhana for jnanam. For somebody who is on the jnana path, karma sannyasa is the way. Karma yoga, no doubt, is prescribed for Arjuna. We are not disturbing it. We are not disputing it. But at the same time, Lord Krishna, he is also mentioning what is a different path for jnana. And then he says, okay, wait for jnanam, you are now, it is your duty to do this dharma, you have to establish dharma, and then you graduate to that level. That's what he says. Here the Siddhanti says, Na ekaki yatachittatma nirashir aparigraha. We are going to see this shloka. This is in the same 10th shloka in the same adhyaya. It says, ekaki. When you say ekaki, what does it mean? Ekaki is alone. It is not a wife. It is not including a wife. He is going to say that. Ekaki, when you say you don't have a wife, you have given up samsara. Ekaki. Yata chitta atma. That is yata chitta atma, we know that word. That is one who has got control on this body-mind complex. Chitta is mind. Atma is self. That is body, mind, indriyas and whatnot. All these things, they are yata. Yatani. Indriyani sarvani. That is yata chittatma. That is yata means is under control. Yama dhatu. This yata chittatma. Then nirashihi aparigraha. Nirashihi. He has no sankalpa. Ashihi means sankalpa. Nirashihi. He has no sankalpa. He has no desire in that phala. Karma phala kanksha is not there. Aparigraha. That is one who does not accept anything. A person who is with a family, his wife, children, gruhasthashrama dharma, not only for his wife and children, but also he has to do some other necessary things like nitya karmas and whatnot. He has to do this panchamaha yajnas. When some atithis come, he has to feed these atithis. All these nitya karmas are there, isn't it? So for all that, he has to acquire money, he has to acquire wealth. Whereas this man here, we are talking about aparigraha vratam. Aparigraha means he is not accepting anything. He is not taking anything. So that is it. He is not accumulating anything. Aparigraha brahmachari vrate sthitaha. This is also, we are going to see, this is the 14th shloka. Brahmachari vrate sthitaha. One who is in that state of brahmachari, he is only in that brahma chintanam. So that is what he says. Iti karma sannyasa vidhanat. So karma sannyasa is something which is very much prescribed in the Gita as per the Vedic doctrine only. It is not apart from or different from or something which is opposed to the Vedic doctrine. Then nachatra dhyana kale stri sahayatva ashanka yena ekakitvam vidhiyate. So the very word ekaki, So Shankaracharya is also explaining what is this significance of this ekaki. Stri sahayatvam is not there. Stri sahayatvam is required in a yajna. Why this mention is there? Stri is required in while performing yajna. You remember Lord Rama, when he wanted to do that yajna, he had to put some gold idol and then to replace in place of Sita, and then he had to perform that yajna. So when you are doing yajna, you have to be a married man, number one. Jata putraha Krishna keshaha yajeta. So when you have not still dyed your hair, and then when your son is still young, then you have to do say this yajna. So that is what it says. So which may, and then yajna necessarily means Yajamani's bharya is very much there. The wife of the Yajamani is very much supposed to be there. She is part and parcel of it. So that is why we say dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha. When?
What, my marriage?
Yeah, at the time of marriage, you have not forgotten that. So you make a promise. Dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, nati charami. I will not go beyond you. In case of dharma or artha or kama. So you see these things. Dharma for acquiring this, for in the performance of dharma, and also artha. Artha, various other things, the wealth material which is required for say following this dharma path. So in order to do dharma also you require artha, isn't it? Dharma, if you want to follow that path of dharma also, you require some artha, which is again got in a dharmic way, not in an illegal way. You are not supposed to be somebody like what is it, Robin Hood, robbing somebody and then paying somebody. It's not like a Robin Hood. make a lot of money by way of corruption and do some dhanam here and there. It's not like that. So dharmic way you have to make some money. And then dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha. For all the pleasures, we are together, and then I don't go beyond you. So that is what is the promise which a man makes to the wife at the time of marriage. Then nati charami, that is it. So like that, this stri sahayatva is very much there in dharma, artha, all these things. Here you are talking about that stri sahayatva, ashanka is just, it is not there. That because he says ekaki. Yena ekakitvam vidhiyate. Because of this prescription of ekakitvam, that stri sahayata is something which is not there. So that is the meaning here. Where is this? Nachatra dhyana kale stri sahayatva ashanka yena ekakitvam vidhiyate. Dhyana kale. Dhyana is for what? Dhyana is for moksha, isn't it? So there are 4 purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So you are making a promise, dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, nati charami. What about that moksha? Moksha is something which is independent. Moksha is something where it is an individual pursuit. It is something where you have to discover yourself, your wife's help is not required. In dharma, in yajna and whatnot, all those things, when some atithis come, your wife has to cook food. So stri sahayatva is very much required. But in dhyanam, when you are doing Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, your wife's help is not required. So that is why mokshecha, we have not said mokshecha. We have only said 3. We have not said moksha. So here, yena ekakitvam vidhiyate. So you followed this? Okay. Nacha gruhasthasya nirashihi aparigrahaha ityadi vachanam anukulam. So a gruhastha is there, suppose. Gruhastha means he is somebody who has to take care of the brahmacharis. He is somebody who is somebody to take care of the sannyasis. He has to take care of this atithis, etc. So a lot of burden is there on the gruhastha. Gruhastha is not a happy thing. In olden days at least. Now of course it is gruhastha is okay, very good. Because we don't receive any guests, we don't feed anybody, that is okay. Then in olden days, it was a real challenge actually, a very challenging ashrama. Because the chap, anybody, any athithi could walk in, and then they were doing it as a matter of duty. Even if they did not have food, whatever they had, they used to give. Even I have seen in my childhood, in our own villages, we have seen people coming, and then at any time some atithi will come, and then these people have to very patiently cook. Now if you are getting a guest, you have to tell your wife in advance and then slightly appease her. and then see that the whole thing goes on in a smooth way. So that is the present stage. So, but in olden days, grihastha was rather challenging. So for this grihastha, nirashihi aparigraha ityadi vachanam na anukulam. This nirashihi, so somebody who is not having any sort of asha, and then aparigraha, he is not acquiring any money, he is not earning anything. So he is not making any sort of acquisition. It is not possible because he has to make money and then he has to serve all the people. So that is it. So this nirashi aparigraha ityadi vachanam na anukulam. Then ubhaya prashna anupapattescha.
Ubhaya bhrashta prashna anupapatti.
So that ubhaya prashna also would not arise if this karma yoga was prescribed. So that is it. Then here again there is another purvapaksha. He says anashrita ityanena karmina eva sannyasitvam yogitvam cha uktam pratisiddham cha niragnehe akriyasya cha samsarit sannyasitvam yogitvam cha iti chet. This is the purvapaksha. So let me I'll read out this line. Anashrita ityanena karmina eva sannyasitvam yogitvam cha uktam pratisiddham cha niragnehe akriyasya cha sannyasitvam yogitvam iti chet. So that is the contention. So this simply what it means is, this shloka is there, the first shloka, anashritaha karma phalam, somebody who is not interested in this karma phala, then karyam karma karoti yaha, anashritah karma phalam, what is this? Karyam karma karoti yaha, whatever is nitya karma he is doing, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnihi na chakriyaha. You take that shloka literally. Literally, what does it mean? Then one who is there in karma yoga and then he is doing nitya karma only. Such man, he is the sannyasi and he is the yogi. Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnihi na chakriyaha. Niragni means a real sannyasi. Akriya means a real person who is in dhyana yoga nishta. Akriya. He is not somebody who is not, say this tapa, dana, all these things have disappeared. So a sannyasi and a yogi. So we are referring, these two things are referring to that thing. Then what does it shloka really mean? If you literally take it, karma yogi can be called a sannyasi, not the real sannyasi. Karma yogi is the real sannyasi, it is not the real sannyasi. So that is what it means. You take this shloka literally. Literally, have you followed it? No, I will again explain. So the shloka says, one who is following this karma, one who is having no phala kanksha, that is no desire for this fruit of action, and then he is only doing nitya karma, he is doing just nitya karma, he is actually the sannyasi and not this niragni or achakriya. Whereas Shankaracharya earlier interpreted, taking overall context into consideration, he says, not only is that real sannyasi who can be called a sannyasi, this man can also be praised. He can also be called Gauna sannyasi. So Shankaracharya made a distinction between a real sannyasi who is very much there, because sannyasi, dharma or moksha, this is something which is very much prescribed in the Vedas. The sannyasi is an ashrama. This fourth ashrama is very much prescribed in the Vedas, isn't it? There are 4 ashramas. Brahmacharya, Gruhastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. Sannyasi ashrama is very much prescribed. So what will you do, tell about that? So Shankaracharya says, this for the word na, the Mimamsaka says no. Shankaracharya says na kevalam, not only. Mimamsaka says no, na niragnihi na chakriyaha means it is not the sannyasi or it is not the yogi, but this man should be called the sannyasi or yogi. So Mimamsaka interprets in a very wonderful way. He says he is the sannyasi, he is the yogi, not that sannyasi. Sannyasi is a very faltu man, he is a useless man. He need not be considered. So why not we take this thing in a literal sense? You followed it?
Yes. No.
Na means no for Mimamsaka. Na means not only for Shankaracharya. So that is this slight distinction. So I'll read out. Where is this? योगित्वं चेत् न ध्यानयोगं प्रति अनाश्रितः इत्यनेन कर्मिण एव we read this shloka isn't it? Line isn't it? अनाश्रित इत्यनेन कर्मिण एव सन्यासित्वं योगित्वं च उक्तम्. So anashritah, by this shloka, anashrita, this whole shloka, it means karmina eva samnyasitvam yogitvam uktam. For a karmi only, that is for somebody who is in karma yoga only, you are saying he is the sannyasi, he is the yogi. Not the fellow who has given up, who has renounced, and not the fellow who has given up all those tapa, yajna, dhanam, all these things. Not those people. He is the real sannyasi, he is the real yogi. Why don't you take it in that manner? So that is what is the thing here. Karmina eva sannyasitvam yogitvam cha uktam pratishiddham cha niragnehe akriyasya cha. Pratishiddham na niragnehi na cha akriyah. Na is negating. Pratishiddham means negated. It is pratishiddham is something which is negated. Pratishiddham cha niragnehe akriyasya cha sannyasitvam yogitvam cha. This sannyasitvam and yogitvam is just negated for the sake of those who have really renounced. Iti chet, na, it is not like that, man. You are going against the very meaning of the Veda. That is what Shankaracharya is replying. So he says, the Siddhanti says, na. Dhyana yogam prati bahirangasya satah karmanah phalakangsha sannyasa stuti paratvat. So phalakangsha sannyasa is one word. Phalakangsha sannyasa. Phalakangsha is desire for the fruit of action. Phalakangsha sannyasa is renouncing that desire for the fruit of action. Or simply renouncing the fruit of action, let us say. So he says, Dhyana yogam prati bahirangasya satah karmanah phalakangsha sannyasa stuti paratvat means he simply wanted to praise that aspect of renouncing karma phala. So in both sannyasa and karma yoga, there is some little bit of, there is some element of tyaga. Sannyasi is somebody who has done 100% tyaga. This man has done some 30%, 40% tyaga. That is karma phala tyaga. So taking this as a common factor, there is some tyaga in karma yoga also. Karma yoga, the tyaga is karma phala kanksha sannyasa. That is word is phala kanksha sannyasa. Phala kanksha has been renounced. That renunciation is common factor between this karma yogi and also a sannyasi. Taking that into consideration, you are saying, okay, this man is also he can be called, he can be patted, he deserves a pat on the back. So in that sense, he is saying, in that sense, he said sannyasi yogi, not in a 100% sannyasi yogi. Remember that example of this boy is a lion, simho manavakaha. You are only taking into consideration that bravery, into consideration, you are only bravery, and then you are saying, oh, this chap is brave like a lion. Not as though this man is a really lion. Not as though he is really falling on, say, some elephants, and then he is pouncing on elephants and then breaking those, tearing them into pieces. It's not like that. He is brave. That only that bravery as a common factor is taken. So you followed it? I think it is clear. Dhyana yogam prati bahirangasya satah karmanah. This karma, what is this? He is describing what is this karma, describing the rather boundaries of karma yoga. Dhyana yogam prati bahirangaha. This is a bahiranga sadhanam for dhyana yoga. I explained what is bahiranga sadhanam. It goes up to that stage and then falls off, like your high school degree, which is no longer relevant once you go to that degree, I mean bachelor's level. So like that. Then dhyana yogam prati bahirangasya satah karmanah phalakangsha sannyasasya stuti paratvat. Sannyasa stuti means sannyasasya stuti. Basically to encourage. Stuti means giving a pat on the back. Somebody does some good thing, you give a pat on the back. It does not mean that that is the ultimate thing. That is it. Then nakevalam niragnihi akriyayeva sannyasi yogi cha kim tarhi karmi api karma phala sangam sanyasya karma yogam anutishtham sattva shuddhyartham sannyasi yogi cha bhavati iti stuyate.
stuyate.
So this word stuyate is important. That is, he is being patted on the back. Stuti means patting on the back. Then na kevalam. You see this word na kevalam. Shankaracharya says for na, he says na kevalam. Not only. Taking into consideration the common factor of that tyaga, common factor that there is some element of tyaga in karma yoga, you are taking that element as a common factor and then saying, okay, you are giving him a pat on the back. Na kevalam niragnihi akriyayeva sannyasi. The niragni and akriya are, they are the real sannyasi and real yogi. Niragnihi, nirgataha agnayaha yasmatsa niragnihi. Agni is, well, the grahastha is somebody who is having all this agni, say what are these ahavaniya agni, some dakshina agni, and three different types of three agnis are supposed to be there in everybody's house. Of course, nowadays not hardly say anybody is there, but this chap is supposed to maintain those agnis. So niragni is somebody who is a sannyasi, akriya. So, na kevalam niragni akriyayeva sannyasi yogicha. Kim tarhi? Kim tarhi means what then? What then? Who is it and who is a sannyasi? Karmi api. A karma yogi api. Karmi api means karma yogi. Karmi api is karmi api becomes karmi api. Karmi api. Why? Karma phala sangam sannyasya karma yoga manutishtan. So, karma phala sangam sannyasya. He has given up desire for karma phalam. And then he is adopting karma yoga, he is following that karma yoga. Then sattva shuddhyartham karma yoga manutishtan. This chap, for the sake of antahkarana shuddhi, for the sake of purification of his mind, he is performing or he is doing that karma yoga. So if for that man also can be called sannyasi yogi cha bhavati iti stuyate. He is being patted on the back. That is it. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Nacha
Nacha
ekena vakyena karmaphala sanga sannyasa stutihi chaturthashrama pratishedhasya upapadyate. So he says in the same shloka he can say karmaphala sanga sannyasa stutihi. So he is stuti, he is just praising that karma phala sanga stuti, sannyasa stuti. Karma phala sanga sannyasa, that is renouncing the fruit of action, he is being praised on one hand, and then it does not mean that it is negating sannyasa altogether. Sannyasa pratishedha, what is that? Chaturthashrama pratishedha. Chaturthashrama is sannyasa. Chaturthashrama is that fourth ashrama. Fourth ashrama is that sannyasa ashrama, which is supposed to be the final stage for a human, for a man. That final stage where you are supposed to dwell on, say, the nature of Brahman, etc. Of course, now in olden days, many people were probably taking up sannyasa. But of course, nowadays we don't see anybody except some of these Swamijis who have taken up sannyasa. Not many people we see today. Then, nacha ekena vakyena karma phala sanga sannyasa stutihi. In one hand, he cannot do karma, he cannot praise this renunciation of karma phala on one hand, and then he cannot totally deny or negate the very existence of sannyasa and the very existence of dhyana yoga. It is not being done because that is against all the Vedic doctrine. That's what he is going to explain. Nacha prasiddham niragnehe akriyasya paramartha sannyasinaha shruti smruti purane itihasa yoga shastra vihitam. Excellent. Sannyasitvam yogitvam cha pratishedhati bhagavan. So this sannyasitvam and yogitvam is something which is prasiddham. Prasiddha means it is so well established. Prasiddha is something which is so well established in these all the books. Shruti, Smruti, Purana, Itihasa, Yoga Shastra. He is telling so many things. Shruti. Shruti is the primary text. Shrutis are the primary text. Smruti, the Gita. So we have got primary text and secondary text, that we have to have a clear idea, because not many people they have an idea of what are primary texts and what are secondary texts. Somebody takes up some Kartika Purana and then he feels that is the supreme text, And then in that text, there are all types of stories, all types of funny stories. If you take some Kartika Purana and then if you try to read as the supreme book, then you are disillusioned. You will run away from Hinduism because there are some funny stories which are not, which look very, very funny today and very, very silly also today. So that such things, they are not the primary text. They were told at some particular point of time for the ignorant people of that particular time in order to explain certain things, say in a much simpler way. Suppose Shiva Bhakti is advocated in that Purana, let us say. Shiva Bhakti is told there is some extreme praise. Extreme praise, you do 100 murders and then you put one bilva leaf on the Shivalinga, all that goes. Can you say that now? It is called an Arthavada. Even then, the people who wrote it, they knew. It is only Arthavada. It is a mere praise. It is only a mere praise. Certain things, Arthavada means excessive praise or excessive condemnation. Arthavada, simple meaning of Arthavada is excessive praise or excessive condemnation. Suppose you look into your mirror, for women, they used to say, if you look at your mirror after nightfall, you will go to hell. Then by that standard, all our women have to go to hell. After nightfall, you are not supposed to look into a mirror, because that was something which only, say, the people who used to live by their body, live by their beauty, what is called, they were called, of course, not exactly prostitute, Rupa Jiva. Sanskrit word is Rupa Jiva. Rupa Jiva is one who lives by her beauty, by her appearance. So only such people, they used to dress up neatly in the night. Not a Gruhini. A Gruhini is supposed to, only in the morning also she can look into a mirror during day, not in the night. So this is something which is an Arthavada, basically to an over-condemnation of a particular thing, just to say that it should not be done. It is not recommended for a Gruhini. Then similarly, you do 100 murders and then you put one bilva leaf on the Shivalinga and then you will go to Shivaloka. That is again excess stuti. So such statements are Arthavadas. So such statements are sometimes contained in some of these Puranas. So we are not supposed to take the Purana as the primary text. Primary texts are, we should not have any confusion. Shruti is primary text, that is Veda. Then Gita is the primary text for as long as our doctrine is concerned. Then Brahma Sutra. This is called the Prasthana Traya. This threefold path. This Shruti, that is Upanishad. Then what is this Brahma Sutra? And then Gita, which is supposed to be a condensation of all the Upanishads. So these three, this is the primary text as long as Vedanta, Siddhanta or doctrine is concerned. All other things become secondary texts. Smruti, some other Smruti is there, some Parashara Smruti, Manasmruti, some other Smruti, all these Smrutis. Shruti, Smruti. Smruti means remembering what is already told in somewhere else. It is remembering. That is recalling, let us say. Smruti, Itihasa. Itihasa is Ramayana, Mahabharata. They are also standard. But then, if there is something like an Arthavada, some excess praise or excess condemnation, you have to see what exactly does the writer mean. If you don't see what exactly he means, and then if you go literally, then you will land in trouble. You will end up taking all ridiculous decisions. So that is it. Then, nacha prasiddham niragnehe akriyasya cha paramartha sannyasinaha shruti smruti purana itihasa yoga shastra vihitam. It is there in Shruti, it is there in Smruti, it is in Prati Purana, it is in Itihasa, and also in Yoga Shastra. What? Sannyasitvam and Yogitvam. These are well established in all these Shastras. So you can't negate, you can't totally reject it. And then Lord Krishna is not rejecting. So Lord Krishna is definitely saying these are very much there. But then he is just praising that Karma Yogi, taking that common factor, that element of Tyaga into consideration, he is praising. So that is it. The time is over. So this sentence I think is over. Shruti Yoga Shastra Vihitam cha Pratishedhati Bhagavan. Pratishedhati is na Pratishedhati Bhagavan. Lord Krishna is not negating this Sannyasitvam and Yogitvam, which is so well established in all the scriptures, primary and secondary. The secondary scriptures are our Purana, Itihasa, all these things, they should be called secondary scriptures. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति.